right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Yin. I'm Trish, and tonight we're going to do a nice all over body relaxing session. So, we're going to start off just with a little bit of spinal mobilization, especially if you've been sitting all day. So, let's just come into tabletop and we'll just do a couple of cat cows just to start off with this evening. So, come up onto all fours, wrist underneath shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and then just shift the weight slightly forwards onto your kneecap so we're not crunching into the knee joint, lengthening the spine as we inhale. And then as you exhale, start to roll the tailbone under, belly to the spine, spine to the ceiling. Open up through the backs of your shoulders, roll the chin in towards the throat and point the crown of your head towards the mat. So we get this really nice opening across the back of the body. As you inhale, keep your belly hugging to the spine, hips and collarbones wide as we start to arch, lengthening up, reaching the heart center forward, shoulders away from the ears, and maybe drawing your chin and your eye gaze to the sky if your neck allows. So just moving with the breath. And just opening the front and the back of the body. And just getting a little bit of energy flowing. Let's do one more here. And then from here, let's come back into neutral and just gently circle your hips a few times in one direction. And then back the other way. And then make a little figure eight with the hips. And then back the other way. And then from here, let's make a little bit of disco cat, a little bit of freeform movement. So just starting to feel the energy on the base of the spine, moving that up through the hips, the lower back, through the middle back, side body, up into your upper back and shoulders, maybe starting to make little figure eights with the shoulders. Maybe making figure eights from the hips to the shoulders. Bring that energy up through the shoulders and neck, maybe starting to make little spirals with the head or shaking out from side to side. Maybe opening, closing the mouth if you hold tension around the jaw. And just taking a few moments here, just allowing your body to show you how it needs to move so that your energy can flow freely. Okay, and then when you're ready, slowly bring all the energy back into the spot, 3 fingers below your belly button. Bring the big toes together, draw the bum back towards the heels, and then just come into child's pose for a moment. So your knees can be together or out wide, and then just lengthening the spine, widening the shoulders, and then just softening through the hips, the belly, and the chest. Maybe a gentle little sway of the hips from side to side. Okay, and then when you're ready, let's roll ourselves back up into tabletop. From here, we're just going to stretch our hands a little bit, especially if you've been, for Sheila, and anyone, if you've been back at work, so back at the desk. So from here, we're in tabletop, but now bring your hands shoulder width, but a lot closer in towards your knees. We're going to now rotate the hands so your fingers are pointing in towards your knees, and then inhale, and as we exhale, we're going to gently start to draw the bum back towards the heels. So if this is very intense, come back up, walk your hands closer in towards your knees. Otherwise, you can even bring the hands onto the sides of the knees if it's too much. And then just gently starting to rock from side to side, stretching out through the insides of your wrists. And then from here, start to lift the heels of the hands. So we're stretching the palms of the hands. So lifting the heels of the hands and then just gently rocking from side to side. Stretching out all those tendons. Palm, pull the thumbs back towards you. And then just gently come onto the fingertips without pushing too hard. All right, let's gently release. Give everything a nice little shake out. All right, and then little twinkle stars. Little fists. And then just circling the wrists one direction and then back the other way. Figure eight in one direction and then back the other way. Okay, give it another shake out. Let's come back down. This time our palms are facing up. Hands are shoulder width apart, closer in towards the knees than tabletop. So this time we're bringing the backs of the hands down and your palms are facing up towards your body. Inhale here, and then as we exhale, gently draw the bum back towards the heels. So we're feeling that stretch out through the tops of the wrists. And just breathing into the tops of the wrists. And we're gently rocking from side to side. And then from here, let's change the angles. So we're going to start to bring the fingers pointing in towards each other, gently rocking from side to side. And then bringing the fingers to point outwards. And then circling, rocking. Okay, and then let's release. Come back up, give your hands a nice little shake out. And then twinkle stars. Little fists. Circling in one direction, back the other way. Figure eight. And back the other way. Spread the fingers and then circling back the other way. And then now let's circle each digit. And back the other way. And we'll figure eight. And then back the other way. All right. Give it a little shake out. And then now clasp the hands, make a little figure eight. And then back the other way. All right. Once that's done, shake it all out. So we're just moving a little bit of energy through. Now let's come into a nice melty shape. We're going to grab 2 blocks now. And we're going to come into a nice supported heart opener. So we're going to set up the first block to support the head on its longest end. The second block can either be on its middle end or its lowest end. So depending on the flexibility of your back. Okay, so make sure that that first block is going to come, make sure it's not below your ribs. So make sure it's not on your lower back. It's going to be up at your upper back around your shoulder blades. Okay, so from here, have your block set up behind you and then bring your knees together, feet to the edges of the mat. Hey, Catherine. Okay, so we're just setting up for supported heart opener. So keeping the belly hugging in, we're going to lengthen up, roll the shoulders away from the ears, keep the belly hugging in towards the spine, and gently start to lower yourself down. So come onto one forearm, and then you take your other hand and you guide that block so that it's symmetrically in between your shoulder blades. Once again, make sure it's not on your lower back. Keep the chin tucked in, roll the chin in towards your throat, and then place the other block at the back of your head. So this should feel really nice and supported. From here, you can either keep the knees bent or you can extend the legs out or maybe bring your feet into butterfly if that's comfortable. So finding a comfortable position for your body here and make sure that there is no pinching whatsoever in the bones in your lower back. If there is, then you might need to slide that block that's underneath your shoulder blades a little bit higher up or maybe turn it onto its lowest end. Okay, and then once you're nice and comfortable, set up on the blocks, let's gently start to close down the eyes. And just starting to bring the focus and awareness a little bit deeper into the body and into the breath. So we're going to start to draw that breath all the way down into the hips, into the belly. Starting to feel that expansion of the belly like a balloon. And then from the belly, starting to fill the full capacity of your lungs from the bottom, middle, top, front, side and back. Breathing into the heart space. Perhaps another breath into the neck and throat. And then as you exhale, just gently starting to soften, softening through the hips. Softening up through the abdomen. Softening up through the chest and the shoulders. Maybe starting to expand across the shoulder girdle at the back. Perhaps starting to widen through your collarbones at the front. As you soften through the tops of the shoulders, maybe you can slide the shoulder blades a little bit further down the sides of the spine at the back. From the shoulders, softening up through the neck and throat. And clenching the jaw, softening up through the face, the cheeks, softening through the eyes and the eyebrow center. Just keeping the tip of your tongue gently resting on the roof of the mouth, just behind the two front teeth, so that your energy circuits are connected. From here, just slowing and deepening the breath. As we slow and deepen the breath, just starting to calm the mind and the central nervous system. Deep, nourishing inhalations. And then as you exhale, just continuing to soften. Perhaps just doing a scan in your mind's eye of your body, noticing any areas that might still feel a little bit tight or be holding onto any tension. And then consciously starting to draw your breath into those tight areas. If you're feeling that the chest is a little bit tight, if you've been hunched over a desk all day, just starting to breathe into those spaces. Mind's eye, visualizing those areas starting to expand with the breath. And then as you exhale, just sending a message from the mind to the body to soften and release. Giving yourself permission to let go. And just giving yourself a little bit more space within the body to breathe and to move. Continue with your deep yogic breaths. Let's take a few more nice, deep, melting breaths here. And then when you're ready, we're going to slowly start to lift the pelvic floor. The muscle is used when you stop your wee midstream, hugging the belly button in towards the spine. If your legs are in butterfly on your next inhalation, inhale, bring the knees back together. Okay, if your legs are straight, bending the knees and bring them in. From here, keeping the belly hugging in. As we exhale, we're going to bring the forearm down, lift your head, and slowly just roll off your blocks onto one side. From here, we're going to remove the blocks from underneath us and roll ourselves back down into Shavasana. Extend the legs out, and then maybe just give a little shimmy or a little shake through the body, lengthening the spine, shoulders away from the ears, and then coming into our neutral position for 1 minute. We're keeping the back of the neck long, tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the two front teeth. And just breathing into the body as we release from that long hold. Just observing any sensations in the body, subtle changes, blood or energy flowing. Just breathing into it and allowing everything to assimilate. Okay, when you're ready, slowly start to bring some movement back into the body, gently starting to wriggle your fingers and toes. You're circling the wrists and ankles in one direction, back the other way. And it feels good. Stretch your arms to the sides or above the head. Maybe starting to point and flex the feet. And then as we exhale, hug the knees in towards the chest. Maybe roll into a little ball, rolling your nose towards the knees. Get a nice little stretch across the back. And then lengthen shoulders, neck, and head back down. Maybe just widening across the hips as we rock from side to side. You're starting to lengthen your sit bones down towards the long end of the mat. And then just circling your knees a few times in one direction and back the other way. Take the knees apart, circle them in opposite directions. Back the other way. Okay, and then from here, bring the feet to the ground and hugging the belly into the spine. Let's drop the knees from one side. Inhale to center, exhale to the other. Okay, let's roll. Take one arm above your head, roll onto your side. And we're now going to come into thread the needles. So options in tabletop or child's pose. So Diane, if it's more comfortable in tabletop, you can come from tabletop. Otherwise, we'll come from child's pose. So you can have your bum back towards the heels. Diane, maybe create that posterior tilt with the pelvis. And then from here, come into child's pose for a moment. Bring the hands out, just widening through the hips. And just gently swaying the hips a little bit from side to side. Let's take a few breaths here just to soften through the hip crease. So thinking about that hip crease as we breathe into the back of the body and then breathe in, breathing into the back. As you exhale, keep softening and widening out through that hip crease and just allowing the weight of your belly to melt down. Okay. Softening the elbows, softening the shoulders. Keep widening and softening around the belly and the hips. Okay, now let's start to lift the head up. You're going to bring your right hand in line with your head and then take the left hand, hug the belly into the spine, take the left hand back. So this is like a little twist as we start to keep the spine long and then we're winding the ribs open towards that back hand. Eye gazes into the back fingertips. So just reaching out. Oh, sorry, I'm going to turn the other way. So you're going to open that up and as you exhale, you're going to slide that hand just underneath your armpit. I'm going to slide it out. So I'm just going to come onto the other side. So we start like that. You're going to slide that hand out and start with your palm facing up and then come onto the side of the shoulder and the side of your head. Okay, so you can have your bum back towards the heels or Diane, you can have that your hips stacked over the knees. So find the more comfortable option for your body this evening. And right now we should feel that really nice stretch across the upper back through your shoulder blades. Maybe hug the belly into the spine and then keeping the knees grounded into the mat, starting to wind the ribs open towards the right side. And then just breathing into the upper back. Maybe walking that right hand across to the left-hand corner of your mat as we twist. So that movement's coming from the ribs rather than from the shoulder. And so breathing into the shoulder blade on that left side, on top of the shoulder. And then as you feel that release, you can maybe start to gently turn the palm of that left hand facing down. And so maybe we now start to feel that stretch extending all the way down through that bottom arm, through your tricep, your bicep, above and below the elbow, out through the forearm, to the wrist, the hand, and the fingertips. Okay, and then when your bottom palm is facing down, so if it still feels very tight in your shoulder, stay with the palm facing up. Okay, and you might still be like this. Otherwise, if that palm is now comfortably facing down, widen out across your collarbones, and then let your chest straight back over that left arm. So right now you're going to feel this slight compression just underneath your collarbone into your lung points and kidney points on the left side of the body. And we're just going to melt down here. So just breathing into wherever you're feeling the stretch. You might still be feeling that in your shoulder, maybe across the back, maybe down your arm. Maybe or if you're feeling quite comfortable physically, then maybe bringing your awareness to the deeper, subtle layers and maybe starting to feel sensations of the energy pathways from those points underneath your collarbone and running down through the arm into the hand and the fingers. Consciously deepening the breath and breathing into wherever you're feeling sensation. And then as you exhale, keep softening the exhalation. Okay, and then when you're ready, we're going to slowly come out of the shape. So if you're in thread the needle and if that hand is across, your right hand is across the left hand corner of the mat, bring it back in line with the head, hug the belly in towards the spine. We're going to inhale, open ourselves back up into our twist. Exhale, bring the knees in, come back into child's pose with the knees together. Rest your belly on your thighs and come into embryo. So from here we bring the knees to touch. So that gives you a little platform to rest your belly, and then bring your hands by your feet, palms facing up, and just release the shoulders here. Resting the forehead onto the mat and just take some nice deep breaths. Allow everything to soften and just check in with the body. Notice how you might feel on one side compared to the other. Okay, and then when you're ready, let's come back into our open child. So if you need to walk the legs out, come into tabletop, maybe extend the legs out and just walk the legs out before we come onto the second side. Just keeping one knee on the floor, extending the other heel back, maybe just gently sliding the hips back and forth a few times. Circling in one direction, back the other way, breathing into the back of that knee. And other side. Circling one way, other way. Okay, when you're ready, come back into child's pose or tabletop for the second side. Okay, so we're going to bring the left hand now in line with your face. Bring the knees out wide, or if you're in tabletop, knees are hip width apart. Okay, so Diane, your twist is going to be like this, or your opening is going to be like that, and threading through. Catherine and Sheila, if you're in child's pose, we come into our twist as we take that hand back, so the hands are in one line. Belly hugs in, inhale, and as we exhale, we start to thread that right hand through, coming into the side of the head, side of the shoulder, and then just melting down. So let's take a few nice deep breaths here first. Breathing into the upper back. creating space on that right shoulder. And then maybe starting to hug the belly in, maybe starting to wind the ribs open towards the left side. As you wind the ribs open, maybe you can start to walk that extended left arm across to the right-hand corner of your mat. Feeling that nice stretch across the back, and then when you're ready, maybe starting to wind that bottom hand, palm facing down. So just listening to your body, find the options that feel good. As always in our yin practice, we never want to go to the point where anything feels like it's pulling or getting the shakes. So stopping at the first point of resistance and just breathing into those tight areas. As you exhale, sending that message from the mind to the body to soften and release. And then from here, if you like, just gently start to bring that left hand back in line with the shoulder. Maybe just gently allow the chest to melt down. And now we're feeling that squeeze and then compression underneath the collarbone on the right side. Just breathing into it. Any time, if anything doesn't feel good, come out of the shape. So, and Sheila and Catherine, stay in that shape. Diane, if you need to release, release. Otherwise, maybe just try hugging the arm in diagonally across the chest. So you'll still get that little squeeze and that opening across the shoulder, or even just give yourself that hug and maybe do a little roll down with the knees bent. So otherwise, that's another option that's not gonna need the lower body. Okay. And so now Sheila and Catherine, we're going to release from our thread the needle. When you're ready, bring that left hand back in. Inhale, belly hugs in. Reach that right hand back. And then exhale, bring that hand back down. Bring the knees together and come back into embryo or any version of child's pose just to release the shoulders. So embryo just relaxes the shoulders back. And Diane, you can... If it's more comfortable to stand, do that. Bend the knees, roll chin to throat, and then just let the elbows be heavy. And keep the tailbone, keep that posterior pelvic tilt, keep the knees bent so there's no pulling in the hamstring. And just really keep lifting through your belly, lifting through the chest, and just let the elbows be heavy and just let the arms kind of just hang down and maybe just sway a little bit from side to side. So really trying to release through the upper back. Just take a couple of breaths there. Because you're standing, there's a blood flowing to your head, so we won't stay too long. And then Diane, when you're ready, roll back up, swap sides. Catherine and Sheila, stay in embryo and just release your shoulders. Let everything just settle because you guys were in a longer hold. So if you're watching this as a video, just stay in embryo, let the shoulders release a little bit. And then if you need to, you can bring your hands underneath stack your fists underneath your forehead and just rest the forehead onto the fists. Okay, and from here, Sheila and Catherine, let's come from embryo, let's come back up into tabletop and gently walking the legs out in tabletop. If you like, maybe coming up into down dog. So you can, option one is just to stretch the legs out in tabletop and then Option 2 is maybe sliding the hips up and just stretching the legs out in down dog. Diane, you can take either option of down dog or tabletop. So keeping that little posterior tilt to the pelvis, Diane, rather than arching, whichever variation you're in. Okay, we just stretch the backs of the legs, stretch out across the back. Hopefully the back is a little bit more open now. And then when you're ready, we're going to come back down, grab your bolster. We're coming into supported lizard. So grab your bolster, maybe a block or two as well. And then we're going to come from tabletop, and we're taking the right leg back, extending the heel back. Bring your bolster in front of your left knee. Okay, and then we're going to take that right leg now. We're going to bring it up to the outside of your right wrist. Maybe bring it a little bit forwards. Shift your weight forwards onto the back kneecap. So you now have your bolster against your left quad or your left thigh. Now, if you need to, grab your blocks. Actually, we'll floss a little bit. So you can bring your hands onto the bolster, or you can bring your hands onto the floor or onto the blocks, whatever's more comfortable. And then lifting out of the hips, we're just going to gently circle the hips a few times, circling the knee and the ankle. So we're just mobilizing all our joints. So just come into whatever's a more comfortable position and then circling it back the other way. Keep that hip crease nice and wide. Just breathing into it here. Okay, and then when you're ready, we're going to start to gently lengthen forwards. So Diane, try to keep that tailbone, the pelvis slightly tucked under. All right, not just the tailbone, but the entire pelvis. And then I'm going to come forwards. So if you need, grab your blocks, pop them on top of your bolster, maybe resting your forearms onto the blocks. Okay, so that's option 1. Otherwise, maybe resting your belly onto the bolster and then turning your head to the side. Make sure that your front knee is staying stacked above the ankle, or your ankle is slightly in front of the knee. And then we're melting down here. So try to find a nice supported position. And then just breathing into that right hip. So if you have extra cushions, so if you're kind of high up here, Catherine, stay there if you're very comfortable. Just for Sheila and Diane, I'm just going to try to show a different, so what you can do, I'm just going to do the other side so you can see me. But if you're kind of up here and it's a little bit more, it's a little bit tighter, maybe grab another thing so you can get that into your hip, if that makes sense. So sometimes that might be a little bit more comfortable. So then that gives you space to fold your hip a little bit forwards until we're feeling that nice support in our hip. Keep widening out through that hip crease on the right side. Is that better, Sheila? Is that more supported, hopefully? Yeah, awesome. Okay. So yeah, sometimes we just have to build things to fit everything. And if you like, maybe just starting to ground the knife edge of your foot, lengthening out through the inner ankle and opening the foot to the side as well. So that's another option, or you can keep your big toe grounded. So we're opening that right hip, winding, open that knee to the side, winding open. And just keep deepening the breath here. Okay. I'm going to stay here for a few more minutes. So just really try to soften. If you want to add a little bit more, so you can maybe just stack your fists and rest your forehead. If you want to add a little bit more, maybe coming up now, bend that back knee, make sure on the knee cap, and then take your right hand, perhaps reach around. If it's accessible, hold onto your foot And then as you exhale, lengthen forwards and then come back down. So this is just going to add a stretch to your quad. If it feels very tight, then just stay in your pigeon without that additional. So otherwise, if you want to try, you can try. She'll take that hand. So if you're a little bit higher up, and then you can take, and maybe if it's comfortable, hold on to the foot. And that will just give you a little stretch to the quad. If that's not good and not comfortable or relaxing, then just keep that foot on the ground. All right, when you're ready, if you're holding your back foot, release the back foot, bring your hands back down, push into the mat, and then from here, ground your big toe of the front foot back onto the floor if it's lifted. Lift the back knee and just gently sway the hips back and forth. From here, come back either through tabletop or down dog. So option 1, bring the knee back down, bring the other leg back, and you're back in tabletop and you're walking the legs out. Otherwise, from lizard, you can float back into down dog and maybe just walking the legs out in down dog or tabletop. So from here, we just want to stretch everything out, widen out across your hip crease, and then rolling the tops of your thighs in towards each other. So we're squaring the hips, breathing into the hips, and just check in with the body. Notice how you might feel on one side compared to the other side. Maybe we've got hopefully a little bit more space in that right hip. And then when you're ready, you can come back down. Bring your bolster underneath in front of your right knee this time, and step your left foot forwards. Bring the knee, I'm going to come to the other side, bringing the knee above the ankle. Okay, so once again, if you need, stack a little bit more support onto your bolster so that you can get your. So we started with it in front of the thigh, but if everything's very tight, you might not feel that supported here. So try to build your support so you can actually get it into your hip. If your hips are quite flexible, you'll end up kind of lower down like this rather than in that 90-degree lunge. So this bolster is actually in the hip crease here. So we're feeling really nice and supported. Okay, so we're on the second side. And then find your support. If you need to, bring your blocks onto your bolster to rest your forearms, lengthen the spine, inhale, and as we exhale, coming down, making sure that once again, knee is stacked above or slightly behind the ankle. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can start to walk that foot a little bit further forwards as well. And from here, just melting down. And starting to breathe into it. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to floss the hips. So if you need to, maybe just, if you're quite comfortable, stay there. Otherwise, if you want, you can come back up and maybe just floss the hips in one direction and back the other way. I'm sorry, guys. Don't miss that one. And then melting down. If you're comfortable in the shape, just stay in the shape. And just breathing into it. So wherever you're feeling the stretch, just breathing into it. And then as you exhale, softening. So maybe you can come a little bit lower down. So if you're on 2 blocks, maybe you can come down onto 1 after you've released a little bit. And really bring the awareness deep into your body. So feel those places that feel tight. And really consciously draw the breath into those spaces with the eyes closed so the focus is deep into your own body. Maybe you can visualize certain areas that the breath can flow freely into, and then next to those areas might be those little tight areas. So we want to breathe into those tight areas. As we exhale, once again, just sending that message from the mind to the body to soften and release. From here, if you want a little bit more, we can add the little quad stretch. So you can come up, take the left hand, reach back, holding onto the top of your foot, and then as you exhale, drawing the heel in towards the glutes. So come up a little bit to grab the foot. Yep, so we just push into the hands. Yep, lift up, keep the spine long, and then we take the left hand around and then melting back down. And once again, just remember everything is an option. Just do what feels good for your body this evening. Okay, let's take a couple more nice deep breaths here. When you're ready, release the back foot if you've got your foot. Round into the hands. Walk the hands back in. Now we lift the back knee, sway the hips back and forth. Come back through come back into tabletop or down dog to walk the legs out. So option one is bring the knee down, bring the other knee back, and then start to extend the legs out. Otherwise, you might just slide the bolster out of the way, and then come up into down dog. Walking the legs out, keep widening the hip crease and squaring the hips. So you're rolling the inner thighs upwards and you're rolling the outer hip down. Keep widening out across the hips and then bringing the awareness to the hip crease. Keep the hips pushing back towards the wall behind you if you're in down dog. Otherwise, if you're in tabletop, you're still squaring the hips. You're keeping that and widening out through that hip crease. Okay. Once you've walked the legs out a little bit, from here, let's come back down onto our knees and then just gently roll onto your bum. All right, we're going to come into a nice open and a closed twist now with our reclined pigeon. So let's roll ourselves onto the back and just hug both knees into the chest, widening out across the hips. We did a lot of this before in child's pose, so we're just flipping ourselves over and then just widening through the hips. Gently rock yourself from side to side a few times. So knees are in line with hip sockets. Let's take a couple of breaths here. So we did quite a little bit in child's pose earlier. So just as we flip it around, just bring your awareness to how the shape feels when it's upside down. Keep softening the hips and softening the belly. Maybe some gentle rocking. Okay. From here, we're going to release the left foot to the ground. Take the right leg up, widen out across the hip, and then from here, bend the knee and come into your number 4. Okay, so we should just feel an opening up through that right hip. Hopefully that right hip feels quite open from our lizard. Okay, and sometimes this might be enough. Okay, if you want a little bit more. So Diane, just feel into it, how you feel with the glute on this side. If you so you can stay here. If you want a bit more, we're going to come up now. Option 1 is grab your strap and bring it behind your knee. Otherwise, if you like, you can take your hands and interlace your fingers behind your knee. Roll up into a little ball, bringing nose to knee, and then shoulders, neck, and head back down. Start with the knee bent. So first of all, we're just feeling that stretch through our glutes on that right side. Okay, relax the shoulders back down away from the ears. And then just breathing into the glutes. Once again, we just breathe into wherever you're feeling the stretch. Make sure at no point are you getting the shakes or feel like anything is pulling. And so, yeah, once again, this might be an option tonight. If everything feels a little bit tight, you might just want to hook your leg in number 4 and you're just focusing on that opening on that hip, because that is literally very similar to when we're in pigeon on the floor. So we're just feeling that opening. Otherwise, if you want to go a little bit deeper, you're holding on to the back of the knee. You're holding the onto your knee. If your knee's hugged in, keep softening and then maybe hugging that knee a little closer in towards the belly. And another option, Diane and Sheila. So if your left knee is down, you have the option, once this feels a little bit open, maybe hold on to the foot and the knee, and then do it like this, where you're kind of creating a little bit of a flossing motion. So you're just holding the knee and holding the foot. Okay, so this is not as intense, but you might be able to gently find a like just find those little tight areas. Okay, otherwise, if you're holding the back of the knee in your reclined pigeon and bound. And now the option now is maybe straightening that left leg and feeling it, adding that stretch. Once you've released the glute, you can maybe add that stretch into your hamstring. So just find what's a comfortable position. I personally, when I hold the back of my, when I hold my hamstring on the back of the knee, I find that it makes my knee bend a little bit. So when I straighten my leg, I change my hands around to, you can hold on to maybe the calf or to the top of the foot if that's more comfortable for you, or use your strap. Okay, so make sure once again we're not feeling like anything's pulling, we're not pushing into the knee joint to straighten the leg, we slide the knee up into the thigh. And then just breathing into the stretch here. So just going with whatever option feels right for your body this evening, and then just deepening the breath. Using the breath to release, creating space within your body. Okay. And you're ready now. If you've got your left leg extended, we're going to bend that knee and bring that foot to the ground. All right, so we're back in this number 4 shape. I'm just, stay where you are. I'm just going to flip around to the other side so I can watch the screen and cue at the same time. From here, we're taking our right hand out to the side. So you still got your right leg up. Right hand comes in line with the shoulder, palm facing down. Either holding onto the foot. If that's not accessible, you can just keep your hand by the side. So now we're going to pop our hips across towards the right. Inhale, turn your head towards the left. And then as you exhale, keep that right shoulder grounded, hug the belly into the spine, and we bring that right foot onto the floor. Okay, so this is coming into our open twist now. Pushing into your big toe pad, that's your anchor, and gently start to wind that top knee away from you now. So that top knee, rather than coming down, is going to wind up to the sky and away from you. So now you start to wind that hip open and really start to feel that opening around your right hip. Eye gaze is turning towards the left side, lengthening the spine. And then as you exhale, imagine your spine is like a spiral staircase and we're winding open from the left to the right. And so we're opening up from the foot all the way up through the thigh, the hip, opening up through the side on that right side, through the ribs, and extending out through that right arm into the hand and the fingertips, and feeling that nice opening through that right side of the neck. Keep the spine long, keep the belly hugging in towards the spine. Okay, and then let's come into our closed twist. So once you've wound all the way up to the top of your crown, we're going to hug the belly in. Inhale, head to center. Exhale, look out over your left. We're going to widen out across the hip. Maybe pop the hips a little bit further to the right. And then lifting out of that hip crease, let that big thigh bone start to rotate internally. And option 1 is you bring your hand onto the outside of the knee. Otherwise, actually, option 1 is to keep that bottom knee bent. So both knees are bent. All right, so your twist can be like this, which is a lot less intense. Okay, option 2 is you straighten that bottom leg so that it's a little bit of a deeper twist. Okay, from here, if you like, you can, if your hamstring's quite open, you might want to extend that top left leg and maybe holding onto the knife edge of the foot. So now our eye gaze is facing to the other hand. As we inhale, we lengthen, keep the belly hugging into the spine. And as you exhale, we're now twisting and winding into the spine. We feel that stretch across the back of the body now. Just releasing from your lower back, middle back, upper back and shoulder. If this feels super tight, you can keep your head facing the same direction as your knees or look to the sky. Otherwise, if it feels good, maybe turn your head a little bit further as you wind up the spine, bringing out any toxins. Take a couple more nice deep breaths here. Okay, when you're ready, hug the belly in. If your top leg is, if you're holding the top foot, bend the top knee, belly hugs in. Inhale, head and knees back to center. Bring your hips back in line with your shoulders, and then just hug both knees into the chest. From here, let's just gently massage it out as we rock from side to side. Keep widening through your hips. Maybe just check in with the body. Notice how one side feels compared to the other. And then just gently circling the knees a few times in one direction and back the other way. Take the knees apart, circling in opposite directions and then back the other way. All right. Take the legs out, give them a very quick little shake out. And we'll come onto the other side. So once you've shaken everything out, let's come onto the other side. So bend the knees back in, take the left leg up, open the hip up, and then come into your number 4. So once again, this might be just good to stay here, and that might feel quite comfortable. Otherwise, from here, maybe coming up and holding onto the back of the knee, rolling up, knee to most knee, shoulders, neck, and head back down. So let's feel that nice stretch across our glutes now on that left side, or just opening that left hip. So just find the option that feels good for you. Breathing into wherever you're feeling the stretch. And so from here, as you start to release the glutes, if you're hugging the knee in, maybe you can bring that knee a little bit closer in towards the belly. If you're staying with the foot on the ground, then once the hip's a little bit more open, maybe you can hold onto the side of the knee, edge of the foot, and then just gently rock it like a little baby as you bring that a little bit higher up. So that's a little bit less intense option. And then that gives you the option to maybe draw little circles and circling the hip in there. So find your option here. And then if you're holding the back of the knee in the deeper variation, option to straighten that right leg out now. You can keep the hand there if it's good for you. Otherwise, maybe just adjusting the grip. And then finding a more comfortable position and just breathing in. Yeah, and so Sheila, if you're rocking it, make little circles. Think about creating space in that hip socket as you gently circle it in one direction, back the other way. And just exploring all the little, move through those little tight areas. And then if you've got your leg extended, Catherine, think about maybe changing, like extend out through the 2 inner corners of the leg, of the foot, and then see how it feels when we gently change the angle, or you can keep the legs straight. So maybe Create a little bit of internal rotation, external rotation, and then bring it to straight. Because sometimes the side's a little bit tight as well. Okay. When you're ready, let's release that foot if it's bound. Bring that right foot back to the ground. Stay where you are. I'm just going to turn to the other side so I can see you guys. Okay, so we're going to take the left hand out now, palm facing down, hand by the shoulder, and then pop your hips across towards the left, holding onto the foot if it's accessible. Inhale. As we exhale, hug the belly into the spine. Bring that foot across towards the right side of your body. Turn the head towards the right. Okay, so eye gaze into the right, lengthening the spine as you inhale. So you're holding the foot, the toes, not the knee. Okay, so you're holding the toes to keep them on the ground, and then we're starting to, so that the left foot is touching the ground, big toes touching the ground, that's your anchor. And then you're starting to wind open that calf away from you. Feel that support winding through all the connective tissue around your knee, and then winding that thigh open, winding that hip open. And breathing into that left hip as we wind it open. Keep the belly hugging into the spine. Winding open through that left side body. Winding open through the ribs, extending out through the fingertips of your left hand. And winding open that left side of the neck. We can turn your eye gaze a little bit further into the right side. Okay, when you're ready, when you come all the way up, let's come into our closed twist. Belly hugs in. Inhale, head to center. Exhale, look out over the other side. Okay, so from here we start to widen out across the hip crease, and then so option one is you release that foot and then you bring that knee on top of your other knee. So now that brings the stretch into the back. Okay, if you want a little bit more, maybe you can just straighten that bottom leg, maybe bring the hips further across towards the left, or maybe straighten out through that left leg as well. So find a comfortable option for your body. Keep the belly hugging in towards the spine. Starting to release from your lower back, middle back, back and shoulder. So eye gaze to the sky, or eye gaze into the extended arm of that left side. Bringing everything out. Okay, when you're ready, if your leg is extended, exhale, bend the top knee, belly hugs in. Inhale, head and knees to center, bring the hips back to center, lengthen the spine, and then hug both knees back in towards the chest. Widen out across the hips, gently rock from side to side, massaging out across the back. And then circle the knees a few times in one direction, back the other way. Take the knees apart, circle them in opposite directions, and then back the other way. Bring the feet to the ground, and then gently draw the knees from one side to the other, belly hugging in towards the spine. And then now bring the knees back up, bring the knees into the armpits, and then bring the feet to the sky. Now, Diane, if that's not comfortable, just stay with the knees, with the knees bent, with the hugging the knees in. Otherwise, maybe a happy baby. And then holding back, so the knees, calves, ankles are the outside edges of the feet. And then from here, just gently widening out across the back, rocking yourself from side to side, massaging out, maybe coming into a half straddle or a full straddle, stretching out the legs. Okay, and then when you're ready, bring the feet back in, slide the legs out, give everything a little shake out, little shimmy through the body. And then when you're ready, relax and soften down into Shavasana. Okay, so feet just a little bit wider than hip width, letting the feet melt out to the sides. And then lengthening the spine, widening the shoulders, sliding the shoulders back down away from the ears into the sockets. Back of the neck is long, and tip of the tongue resting on the roof of the mouth behind the two front teeth.
Fingers slightly curled, palms facing up. If you're feeling ungrounded, feel free to have the palms facing down. Otherwise, have your palms facing up in a gesture of surrender to the universe. And keeping the eyes slightly closed, lips slightly touching, and just deepening the breath. Observing any subtle changes within the body, simply breathing into them. And then as you exhale, just allowing everything to soften. Deep, full body breaths. Keeping the breath deep and flowing. As you continue deepening those deep breaths, maybe feeling that breath coming all the way down past the belly and hips, all the way down through your legs, into the feet and the tips of the toes. As you exhale, let everything soften down. Maybe another deep, beautiful breath all the way down past your shoulders, into the arms, hands and fingertips. As you exhale, just letting everything be soft and heavy. Melting down into the earth. Imagine your mat's just rising up to meet you and hold you. Perhaps another deep, beautiful breath into the torso, flooding the hips, the belly, the chest, filling the sides from the lower back, middle back, upper back and shoulders. Widening out across the back. As you exhale, just softening down. And then maybe another deep, beautiful breath around your shoulders, your neck, your throat, your head and your face. And as you exhale, just letting everything soften. Relaxing the shoulders away from the ears, softening the jaw, the cheeks, the eyes, the eyebrow center. Okay. And so if you're watching this as a replay, I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for a little bit longer, as long as you need. Otherwise, if we're in the live class, we're going to gently back up. So perhaps starting to slowly wriggle the fingers and toes. Maybe stretching out if that feels good, or just staying in stillness. So just do whatever feels good for you. Everything is just a suggestion. It's good. Maybe hugging the knees into the chest or rolling into a little ball. Any kind of gentle movements. Otherwise, Maybe just gently bending the knees, and then just bring your left hand underneath your head, creating a pillow for your head. Roll onto your left side just to put a little bit of compression onto your heart after our yin practice and shavasana. Keep the body nice and relaxed, maybe keeping your eyes slightly closed or your eye gaze soft. When you're ready, straighten the top leg, start to push into the top hand and slowly support yourself to come back into a comfortable seated position. Keep the body nice and relaxed, keeping the focus within. Sit bones even, lengthen the spine, relax the shoulders away from the ears into the sockets, tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the two front teeth. Take some nice deep grounding breaths here into the body. Allowing the breath and energy to return to normal with the spine tall. Okay, when your breath and energy has returned to normal, maybe just check in with the body. Notice how everything feels, hopefully feeling a little bit more open and a little bit more relaxed than when we first began. Okay, when everything feels like it's back to normal, gently inhale the hands into prayer to heart to close. Let's breathe into the heart center. And giving gratitude for your practice and giving gratitude to yourself for giving yourself the time. And closing our practice here. When you're ready, gently blink the eyes open, bowing your heads. Namaste. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful night. Any questions or feedback, let me know. Otherwise, enjoy, and I'll see you guys soon. I'm just going to turn off the recording.